City Council meeting to order. If we could do roll call, please.
Ken Mahoney.
Here.
Lisa Keel.
Present.
Susan Newhall. Bob Hires.
Here.
Laura LaGuerre.
Yes.
Paul Schultz.
Yes.
Mayor Loman.
Here.
I'd like to make a motion that we excuse Susan for her family function.
Second.
All those in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Invite the audience to stand and join in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We have been given an agenda. Is there any additions or corrections to the agenda? Or a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved. Support.
Any discussion? All those in favor of approving the agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Number 5 on the agenda is public comment about any agenda items. There are agendas in the back of the room if you did not pick one up. We could have one of the students.
There's students here from Mr. Brunson's class.
Okay, very good. And again, for the students, we'll sign your papers after the meeting, and if you would, if you have any questions as we go through the meeting, just raise your hand and let us know. Any other public comment about any agenda items? Okay, moving on to number 6. Approval of consent agenda items.
I make a motion that we approve the communications, which include the city council meetings, the Muskegon Municipal Water Management Committee, Westland Policy Committee, Montague DDA, White Lake Ambulance, and regular bills in the amount of $395,340.88, with $121 going to others.
Support.
Any discussion or questions? We're dealing with money. Roll call, please.
Councilwoman LaGuerre.
Yes.
Councilman Hires.
Yes.
Councilman Mahoney.
Yes.
Councilwoman Newhall is not here. Councilwoman Keel.
Yes.
Councilman Schultz.
Yes.
Mayor Loman.
Yes. Number 7 on the schedule, 7A, Jeff.
Okay, general business for this evening, 7A. First item, 2024 City Council schedule. This was included in your packet, same as it's on the screen as discussed at the work session. Proposed to leave meetings as the same as current year, so they would be the third Monday of the month at 5:30 with the following dates, and then have 2 scheduled special meetings, one on June 3rd for the city's official budget work session, and then one on December 2nd for the fiscal year audit presentation. That would be the proposed schedule for 2024.
Any questions or a motion?
I move we accept the schedule as presented.
Support.
Now, is there any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Councilman Mahoney.
Yes.
Councilwoman Keel.
Yes.
Councilwoman LaGuerre.
Yes.
Councilman Hires.
Yes.
Councilman Schultz.
Yes.
Mayor Loman.
Yes. 7B, Jeff.
7B, boards and commissions appointments. This was included in your packet. So council is doing several appointments or affirming appointments that the mayor makes, as well as doing an official council appointment. This is your first item under the city council schedule. You will see that Mayor Pro Tem is in orange. Councilman Hires currently serves as Mayor Pro Tem. However, after every election, council may select a new Mayor Pro Tem if they like. As motion by the council, support and then vote. That is not a mayoral appointment. So we'll kind of take them one by one rather than doing everything at once.
Any questions or A motion?
So if there's no objections or no changes, then
Still has to be an official motion.
it's also an official motion. I move that we leave Bob Hires as pro tem for the upcoming year. 2 years, sorry.
Is there
Second.
Okay. Now, is there any discussion? Roll call, please.
Councilwoman McGuire?
Yes.
Councilman Schultz?
Yes.
Councilwoman Keel?
Yes.
Councilman Mahoney?
Yes.
Councilman Hires? Is he not voting
You
as
may
well?
abstain.
He may abstain. Mayor Loman?
Yes.
Okay, so now moving on to mayoral appointments. I'll go through each of the different boards or commissions. There's kind of two parts to this. There are those which are the council member appointments. Those coincide again with each of the elections, so those are all 2-year terms. And then the public at large, if they have submitted an application, those would be 3-year terms. So the two council member 2-year terms, Robert Hires and Tom Lohman for the Planning Commission. The 3-year terms, Ashley Elgin and Kevin Herb for the Planning Commission.
We're doing each group separately.
However you would like. They can be individuals, they can be as a group, they can be as per term, council member versus public at large.
So Ashley goes into the orange spot?
Correct. Yep.
Any discussion or questions or motion?
How do we select a person when there's multiple applicants for a particular
It's,
opening?
so it depends on the application, and the mayor can, at his discretion, pick from those individuals. So again, this next set, or all these other ones, are mayoral appointments, and then the council is kind of affirming those appointments. So simply based on applications. As we get to the board of review, that's one of the items we'll talk about, even though we have 3 individuals that are interested and said they would serve, they have not submitted applications yet. So there would be no action on those individuals this evening.
Well, Jeff and I sat down and we went through all the applications and tried to fill in the best we could.
So then just in general, as we go through this, if there's questions on the nominees, do we just ask those? If we don't agree, then it's a no, or, I'm sorry, I know when we did this 2 years ago, it's kind of,
A little foggy.
yeah, just a little foggy.
Yeah, because because you're affirming, the specific charter language says that the mayor makes the appointments under the review and consent of the council. So that is simply similar to like a motion, so. What's in front of you is what Mayor Lowen has proposed for his appointment, so any motion this evening to accept those, it would go through the same process. Kind of you are affirming that with the first, seconding that, and then a vote of the council to affirm it.
We do these individually for each committee or each commission.
Whatever desire of the council.
So I would prefer that I have an opportunity to vote on each commission and
Do you want to do it
rather than
as,
take it as a bulk.
do you want to do it as individuals? Let me grab my pointer here. So there's a couple ways. It can be as each individual for each appointment. It could be the council member appointments and then the 3-year or the public at large appointments for each commission.
I'm
Or it could
talking
be
about who we're placing on the, like the DDA, the Planning Commission, and so on.
Okay.
I would like to have an opportunity to vote separately for each commission if that's permissible.
Yep, that's the plan. That's why I kind of broke them out into each of these different sections.
That answer your question, Paul?
Yes,
Okay.
thank you.
So we're looking at the Planning Commission. And we propose to put Ashley into the vacant spot.
Well, I know we talked about this in the last one, so I make a motion that we approve the 2 council members for the 2-year term of Rob Hires and Tom Loman.
Support.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Councilwoman McGuire?
Yes.
Councilwoman Keel?
Yes.
Councilman Mahoney?
Yes.
Councilman Schultz?
Yes.
Councilman Hires?
Yes.
Mayor Loman?
Yes. And then the other 2 positions?
No, Kevin's returning.
I'm sorry?
I'm sorry, I just mumbled to myself.
Make a motion that we appoint Ashley Elgin and Kevin Erb to the 2 3-year terms.
Bob supported. Any discussion? Again, roll call, please.
Councilman Schultz?
Yes.
Councilman Hires?
Yes.
Councilwoman Keel?
Yes.
Councilwoman McGuire?
Yes.
Councilman Mahoney?
Yes.
Mayor Loman?
Yes.
Okay, moving down the sheet, Zoning Board of Appeals, there is only 1 position. Councilman Schultz would be up for reappointment. So, council member, 2-year term for Zoning Board of Appeals.
I move we accept your recommendations.
Support.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Councilman Mahoney?
Yes.
Councilwoman McGuire?
Yes.
Councilwoman Keel?
Yes.
Councilman Schultz? There's abstaining, apologies. Councilman Hires?
Yes.
And Mayor Loman?
Yes.
Thank you.
Next page, DDA, Jeff?
DA Downtown Development Authority, 1 council member appointment, 2-year term, Orla Guire. 3 4-year terms, Shannon Warzewski and Andrew Uma would be for reappointment, and then Clarissa Moon would be for the filling a vacancy from somebody that had left previously. So 3 individuals for the 4-year terms.
So I know we had a little bit of discussion about there being someone from the finance world on the board. I did have some conversation with a couple of those on the DDA and business owners in town, and it seemed that the preference would be, as opposed to a bank manager that may be promoted in here a short time and move on, kind of like we've had in the past, they would have preferred another business owner or resident. And I know we had a couple of additional applications for this position, so I was just curious if there was something above and beyond Clarissa being part of the bank.
Because the DDA deals sometimes with loans and so on, that's why we put her there, but we certainly are open to any suggestions you have.
Yeah, I think there was only one other applicant, right, and that was Craig Smith. They own the ice cream downtown.
Yes.
Okay.
Lyndon Mayer also applied for Downtown Development Authority, but would not meet the requirements.
Okay.
I also had somebody mention to me that apparently, and I don't know if this is true or not, I'm looking for you for to answer, they said that the person that has represented from a financial institution over the last 4 years, this will be the 3rd person, a 3rd change in those 4 years, because the managers have changed 3 times. And I guess I had some concerns about that also, why we would put somebody on there if it's turning over that much. And, I don't know, maybe it doesn't matter. I don't know. It was a concern. The other thing that, as you know, an issue came up over vetting the applications. And I still have some concerns about, pick my words real careful here. I guess I'll use credibility of statements put in applications. And we've had some clarification, and I think during the clarification, more questions came up for me over the address that came in the clarification isn't even the actual address for the property. I don't know if you noticed that or not. And I think that when we're dealing with a downtown development authority, we have other applicants. If we see something that is not credible, then we need to take some kind of action to correct that. I guess that's enough said about my concern.
So we're open to suggestions, what you want to do with these people on the DDA.
I think it makes sense to have somebody from the bank there. I mean, I know there's a turnover, but as long as there's somebody in that position from the bank, that seems like a good perspective to have.
So if that person were to, so it's a 4-year term, and that person were to be promoted and moved out within a year, then can we backfill that immediately, or do we have to wait for the term to be up?
Don't they replace that position at the bank with a simple person? Would that person just step in?
Yeah, but we haven't had somebody from the bank there in quite a while.
It can be backfilled immediately, so that appointment, since the mayoral appointment can happen at any time. A lot of times when it's happening close to the election, because even though maybe somebody hadn't been attending, because it's close to the election, just wait till the election takes place.
So I'm not sure how to,
I'd like to make a motion that Laura be reappointed to the Downtown Development Authority. I think we
Support.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Councilman Schultz?
yes.
Councilwoman Keel?
Yes.
Councilwoman McGuire? Abstaining? Okay. Councilman Mahoney?
Yes.
Councilman Hires?
Yes.
Mayor Loman?
Yes. And now we go to the next step. Either discussion or motion?
I move we accept your recommendations, Mr. Mayor.
Support.
Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Councilman Mahoney?
Yes.
Councilwoman Keel?
Yes.
Councilwoman McGuire?
no.
Councilman Hires?
Yes.
Councilman Schultz?
No.
Mayor Loman?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Board of Review.
Order review, 2-year terms, again, no action. These individuals have all agreed to serve on that board, but we have not received the applications. We are still, and probably will always be looking for an alternate for that board. If you remember, Ken served on that board before being elected to the city council. Tom Eilers was previously the alternate, so Tom, once he submits the paperwork, would become part of the 3-member board, and then that would leave open the vacancy for the alternate. So that's kind of a FYI. I assume we'll get those in the next couple of weeks, and we can finalize those appointments at the January meeting.
So let me remind the council and the audience that this is a vacancy, and there are other vacancies too. If you're interested in this, or you know somebody, please fill out an application. Ambulance Board, Jeff?
Ambulance Authority, 2-member vacancy that happens every 2 years, coincides with the elections. Council member appointment for the 2-year term would be Ken Mahoney. We have currently had the council member acting as the alternate. Councilman Schultz was serving that role this last period, with Bruce Freilich serving the 2-year public position to kind of get somebody up to speed. I know Mayor Loman had expressed maybe after a year to kind of switch this around after Ken gets his feet wet and wants to take over the main role. Otherwise, we would look at that at the next appointment. But currently, it would be 2-year term for Mr. Mahoney and then 2-year term for Mr. Fraley.
Make a motion that we accept that recommendation on both of those appointments.
Support.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Councilman Schultz,
Yes.
Councilwoman McGuire,
Yes.
Councilwoman Keel,
Yes.
Councilman Mahoney,
I'll pass.
Councilman Hires,
Yes.
Mayor Loman.
Yes. Fire district.
Your fire district, again, 2-year terms. Both have served by council members. Susan Newhoff currently serves in that position and would continue to serve if reappointed. And then Councilman Mahoney would serve the other open position. Councilwoman Wonders previously served on the fire district, so would be replacing her. So 2-year terms, Mr. Mahoney and Ms. Newhoff.
I make a motion that we accept both Ken Mahoney and Susan Newhoff for the Montague Fire District Board.
Any discussion? Oh, we need support, sorry.
Second that.
Okay. Now, is there any discussion? Again, roll call, please.
Councilwoman McGuire,
Yes.
Councilman Schultz,
Yes.
Councilman Hires,
Yes.
Councilwoman Keel,
Yes.
Councilman Mahoney, abstain. Yes. Oh, I'm sorry, which is it? He abstains. Mayor Loman.
Yes. Solid Waste Authority, Jeff?
Solid Waste Authority, Mayor Loman would like to stay on that board. Council member, it's a 2-year term, served as the White Lake Area Solid Waste Authority for the City of Montague.
Move that we accept Tom Lumen on the council for the Solid Waste Authority.
Support.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Councilwoman McGuire,
Yes.
Councilwoman Mahoney,
Yes.
Councilwoman Keel,
Yes.
Councilman Hires,
Yes.
Councilman Schultz,
Yes.
I'll abstain. And Transportation Planning Commission, Windsor Day.
Okay, the West Plain Transportation Planning Committee, 2 council member appointments, 2-year terms, would stay the same. Proposing to Robert Hires would remain as the appointee, and then Tom Loman would be the alternate for that board.
Discussion or motion?
I would move to accept the recommendations on here.
Support.
Roll call.
Councilman Mahoney,
Yes.
Councilwoman Keel,
Yes.
Councilwoman McGuire,
Yes.
Councilman Hires. You're
Abstain.
abstaining. That makes sense. Councilman Schultz
Yes.
and Mayor Loman.
I'll abstain too, does that still pass? Still have enough?
There are, yes, there are enough, there are 4.
Okay, good, thank you. And the last one, is it Jeff? Board of
Assessors. Again, 2-year terms for council members, Councilwoman Keel and Councilwoman Newhoff. It's the favorite board of the council because it does not ever meet or has not met in a long time.
Make a motion that we accept the mayor's recommendations.
Support.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Councilman Schultz,
Yes.
Councilwoman McGuire,
Yes.
Councilman Hires,
Yes.
Councilwoman Keel,
Abstain.
Councilman Mahoney,
Yes.
and Mayor Loman.
Yes. And again, there's several other committees or on our list, but none of those right now, except for the subcommittees, have any changes. And we go to the subcommittees.
Okay, 2024 subcommittee work groups, this is same as proposed. The only change would be Mayor Loman would request that Mr. Mahoney serve on the Cullen Field subcommittee, only because this would even out the distribution for individuals serving on different subcommittees. Otherwise, it is identical to last year, and Councilman Mahoney would replace Councilwoman Wonders from previous years. We did put Scott on the curb leak pickup as a staff, helping to staff that.
So again, if you're looking at what came in your packet, there's a little bit, what Jeff just explained is a little bit different than what you had. Anybody want to change any of these?
I'm good with it.
Or a motion to accept them?
I move that we accept the 2024 subcommittee work group schedule.
Now, is there any discussion? Roll call, please.
Councilwoman McGuire?
Yes.
Councilman Hires?
Yes.
Councilman Mahoney?
Yes.
Councilwoman Keel?
Yes.
Councilman Schultz?
Yes.
Mayor Loman?
Yes. That was the easy part, now the meetings and everything together.
Tedious.
What are we at, 7D? Yeah.
Committee ordinance number 306, clear vision areas and pedestrian and public traffic. So this is kind of final review for adoption. The full ordinance is within your packet. If you remember, there's been a couple different work sessions to refine the language. In the last meeting, last work session, we focused on defining that clear vision area to create those triangles that differ just a little bit depending if it's a major street or it's a minor. So whether it's a 20-foot setback from that line or a 15-foot setback. The other language that the council agreed on coming out of that last work session was the notification of property owners. So if this is occurring, that's section D of the ordinance. And then the other half of the ordinance is related to the pedestrian and bicycle traffic. Council had agreed on this several work sessions ago and has kind of been sitting there because it all goes into chapter 62 of street sidewalks and other public places. So just adopting it as one single ordinance because it's all for one single chapter, amendment to a single chapter. The full copy is within your packet. I also have extra copies for the public if they are interested to take a look.
I'd like to see us take these separately if we can.
We could, but the second one we would have to name as ordinance number 307 so that we can get the correct format.
I thought we settled on the first part. I still have a lot of issues with the pedestrian and bike traffic one. I don't think that we need to have e-bikes, e-scooters, and e-skateboards, especially in the social district in the downtown area. If you do a little research, you'll see that e-bikes conservatively travel 15 to 28 miles an hour. E-scooters, 15 to 25 miles an hour, and e-skateboards, depending on which person you want to believe, somewhere between 10 and 28 miles an hour. On Amazon, you can buy an e-scooter that'll go 60 miles an hour. You can buy a skateboard that'll go 60 miles an hour. If we have people coming out of Lipka's drugstore, or the senior center, or the Book Nook, and they're walking out with a package in their hand, and maybe not paying 100% a walk on their e-bike or their e-scooter or their e-skateboard, we're gonna have a problem. Because it's gonna take at least 30 feet for that person to stop. And I think we gotta look at this real closely for the social district in the downtown area. I'm really not in favor of seeing them on any of our sidewalks, but I know that a lot of municipalities are allowing them on sidewalks. We are not Ann Arbor, though. We are not East Lansing. We are not Kalamazoo. Grand Rapids in their downtown area does not allow them. I just think that we don't have a big enough downtown area. We don't have wide sidewalks like Detroit and some of the bigger cities. We're going to chase people away that would come downtown, especially people my age. I guess I'm in the elderly age now, that are not going to want to come downtown and shop and do different things downtown if I got to dodge a bunch of people on e-bikes, e-scooters, and e-skateboards. As I stated at an earlier meeting, I've been on Hancock Street and been passed by a kid on a skateboard when I was doing 27 miles an hour. Sorry, Chief, but I'll take the ticket.
Give him a ticket.
No helmet, and I know the kid, I think he's 15 years old. This really bothers me, this part of it, and I don't want to vote no on the first part, but if we don't separate them, I'm going to have to vote no on both of them, and it just, I don't know.
A couple of comments. Would it be possible, so we're talking about marking the sidewalks and putting up signs, I'll be positive, when the social district passes, right? Is it possible to do something as you start to enter the downtown corridor where there's a sign that says walk your bike within the downtown district? I mean, would that help to offset? And then maybe post this in our new boat displays out there, our new communications, because I think that's going to be the key, right, is people understanding what is in this ordinance and know that this is the expectation that you will completely stop and halt travel to allow pedestrians to pass and shall not overtake a pedestrian on the sidewalk from behind while traveling in the same direction. Right, that needs to be posted, I think, for people to understand, and maybe our communication centers are a good place to start posting that. But maybe that's an option, to walk bikes within the downtown area, just signage out there.
Sure wouldn't kill them.
And then I don't know if that would have to be part of the ordinance, or if that can just be something that we're gonna say we're gonna do.
We do have some pictures of similar signs.
Yeah, I think we showed those, right, when we were talking about this?
Any other
That's an idea.
discussion, or?
I agree with Paul. I question whether they should be downtown. The opportunity for mayhem is too significant to ignore.
I agree also. I don't think it's realistic that kids are gonna come up behind a pedestrian and stop and warn us, and I think they're just gonna fly past. And I mean, when I was over at Whitehall on Christmas block, there were 3 kids that were on, one was on a sideway and a couple were on scooters or whatever they were, and they were just flying down the sidewalk, you know, around people. I mean, I don't know.
I agree, and I don't think kids are bad. I mean, that's just the way it
It's
is.
just,
We
they
would
don't
say
think about
blame
it.
the
It's
kids.
not
They
just
don't think about
kids.
it. They don't think
It's
about
not
it.
just
It's a
kids,
definite
though,
reality.
guys.
Right, they don't think about it.
No, that's true.
I mean, you've got a lot of our visitors that come in on the boats that bring their e-bikes off the boat, and that's how they travel around the community. So it's not just kids. And again, I think it's, how do they know what the ordinance is, especially if they're a visitor to our town in the summer? How are they gonna know they can't ride a bike on a sidewalk, or they can't ride a bike downtown? We've gotta find a way to get it out there.
We just have signs, no bikes, no motorized vehicles, no whatever. In the downtown, make it simple.
Is this something we should move back to future work session, Jeff?
Yeah, in fact, I would recommend maybe tabling ordinance number 306. Then staff can propose it as 2 separate ordinances. One, if the council is comfortable to adopt the first part at the next meeting, and then the work session part, we'll look at 307 as the second part, keep them separate.
I like that.
What's your motion?
I'll make a motion that we adopt the clear vision area, and I forgot the number already.
I think you have to table it.
Table.
Table.
Table it so we can
I thought we
separate
were going to
them.
adopt the clear vision.
We gotta separate them
Have to
first.
separate.
I would table so that we can formally
Okay.
separate as an
All right.
ordinance.
Then I'd make a motion that we table it.
Any
Sorry,
fur-
my mistake.
No, you're fine. Any further discussion? Let's do roll call, just for the fun of it.
Councilman Schultz.
Name and amendments.
Yes to tabling.
Councilman Hires.
Yes.
Councilwoman Keel.
Yes.
Councilman Mahoney.
Yes.
Councilwoman LaGuardia.
Yes.
Mayor Loman.
Yes. In our last meeting, we had a special meeting December 4th, I believe, and the audit was presented. And our next step is to accept that audit, yeah?
Yep, so nothing besides just accepting the audit that Berkeley Long presented at the last meeting. So then it formalizes that for use and submittal to the state.
And will we accept the audit as presented?
Support.
Any discussion? You want to rest? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Is that okay?
Motion passes, yeah.
Or does it, because it was money? Do we need a roll call?
No, because it wasn't approving any money or
Okay.
expenses.
Very good. 7F.
Talking about money.
Okay, 7, fish cleaning station contract award. So the city did receive 2 bids for the fish cleaning station updates, one from Winberg Construction and one from Tridon Construction Company. Winberg was the low bid of $89,500, which included the use tax, and Tridon Construction, $98,078, also including that use tax. So council would need to award the contract so that I can sign that paperwork and get the schedule going for this winter, early spring.
I make a motion that we accept the contract bid of Winberg Construction. Approve the notice of award.
Support.
Any discussion? We are spending money, so need a roll call.
Councilwoman LaGuardia.
Yes.
Councilman Mahoney.
Yes.
Councilman Hires.
Yes.
Councilwoman Keel.
Yes.
Councilman Schultz.
Yes.
Mayor Loman.
Yes. And 7G, Jeff?
Okay, fee schedule amendments, just to review, coming out of the work session. Majority of these amendments are to affirm a prior approval from last February for the water rate increases. In looking at those fee schedule amendments, we also looked at some of the things which were outdated. You have the sheet in front of you, but I'm going to try to, if I can get my mouse to work. All right. So the numbers on the far left are the lines within the fee schedule document. So first one, solicitor's license. This is outdated and obsolete when council approved several years ago vendors, peddlers, and solicitor's license just below. So it's adopted into that. So just line item out that solicitor's license. Then lines 5 and 6, copies for residents, copies for non-residents. We had a kind of again, something outdated, $1 per page, which was in effect because of a way to discourage people wanting to reprint water bills and tax bills. We do provide this service for some residents and some non-residents, but this aligns more with FOIA, so it would be 10 cents for black and white copies, 25 cents for color. So there's the comments, prior value based on reprinting of water and/or tax bills. And then a non-resident rate, just slightly higher, so 20 cents and 50 cents. Again, this is not like we're going to be becoming a printing shop, but if somebody comes in, gets something notarized, wants a copy, etc., standardizes the fee schedule. The next one's lines 25 and 26, current practice and has been in use for several years. City sign as well as banners at the weather vane or / Ellenwood Park. $10 per request for the sign and $25 for the banners in the park. So not previously noted in the fee schedule, although they were already established by policy. Then the next section is within campgrounds. Lines 39, 40, and 41. Daily RV, full hookup, water and electric only. So we have several sites that oh, I know what we're adding here. Just trying to figure out what was different. So we have several sites that did not have the second set of conditions. So it is full hookup versus water and electric only. So that's the slash there. So if they are there daily and they want the full hookup, it's 50. If they're only using water and electric site, then it's 35. So that's just a reduced rate for daily, weekly, and monthly, depending on if they're in one of those 3 sites, Steve, right? 3 or 4 sites? 3 sites. So again, just standardizes that, has been practiced in, was in campground fees, but not necessarily in our fee schedule. Also within campground 51, sewage dumping for non-guests, going from 15 to 20. Again, this is more of a ease of cash management on the site, because again, these are people not staying at the campground, they're pulling through for a campground manager to collect the money, go get $5 back because they're handed the 20. And 20 is pretty standard for a dump fee within the area. So increases that and standardizes that. Line item 55, shower fee for non-campers. I think I mentioned that at our work session. We have not done this in several years. I think this disappeared when the original Rothbury Festival started, but has never really been used, so it's outdated. So it's just taken out of the fee schedule. Going down to the boat launch fish tournament pre-registration, trying to figure out a way for those tournaments to pre-register. So if they're pre-register regardless of the size of the tournament, there would be $0 fee because we know they're there, we know what's happening. What is happening is we have those people that are responsible to register their tournaments, they are doing it, they are paying the fee. There's others that are just trying to slip through. So it's a way to reward those that are doing early registration. So if it's 30 days prior, there's no fee associated with it, and we know about the tournament. Now we get into the water and sewer. Again, these were already previously approved last February. So this just affirming them because we normally do, after the water rate study, we do the increases. After that, beginning of the fiscal year, and then at the beginning of the calendar year, we do our standard 2% increase. Because these were not implemented, we would implement these now, and then we would do the other increase starting at the fiscal year. So we're just kind of offsetting by 6 months. So city water consumption, township water consumption goes from $3.33 to $3.75 and $6.66 to $7.50. Then the water ready to serve fees also increase. So these are all those 2% increases for ready to serve, capital and debt. And going on to the next page. Fire line ready to serve, both for city and township. Grinder pump increase, And then there, again, is that duplicate water and tax bill of $1. So that was actually in there twice, so really trying to get rid of that one. But all those water fee increases were again approved on 2/6/2023. So affirming those and just cleaning up the other items in the fee schedule as we came across them. Questions on those?
Any questions or discussion or a motion?
I make a motion that we accept the adjusted fee schedule amendments.
Second that.
Now, is there any discussion? Roll call, please.
Councilwoman McGuire?
Yes.
Councilman Schultz?
Yes.
Councilman Mahoney?
Yes.
Councilman Hires?
Yes.
Councilwoman Keel?
Yes.
Mayor Loman?
Yes. Number 8 on the agenda is public comment. This is open public comment. If you'd like to make comments, again, please limit your comments to 3 minutes and use the microphone.
I'm Bill Tar, 5011 Dowling. On December 7th, there was a lot of noise and activity about 3:30 in the morning. And we took a peek out our window, and the maintenance team had marshaled a whole bunch of people together to deal with water main break. And we were right there watching it, very organized, very quiet. Luckily, they had some great weather, and they took care of that. We saw no real impact to our water. Then, within a week, they had a large crew show up. They did what looked like to be in the sod. So within a week and a half, it looks great. So I want to commend them for doing this with so little impact to the people around in a very professional way.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
Hi, I'm Lisa Reed, 867 Sheridan Street. A few things. Last week when you spoke about our plastic recycling and our plastic waste we create, which I totally agree with. And I'm familiar with those laundry sheets, but you also have to watch, I guess they sometimes are made in China, so we want to get somewhere local. But when you mentioned about the plastics not being recycled, I've heard that before, and I just wonder, can we find out if we paid to recycle the plastic at the dump?
Mm-hmm.
Where does that go? And is it one of these stories where it really doesn't get recycled? I guess it's kind of hard, people don't really want it, I don't know, it costs too much. But, so, that was a question about the recycling, what happens to it? The other one was Suzanne Newhoff mentioned last week about leaf pickup. And she wanted the city to, or consider that, have it like Whitehall does. And I don't agree with that. I think there's a lot of reasons not to, and if you can not think it through, and I don't really know how Whitehall's works for them, but I know a lot of people, maybe kids would rake leaves. I mean, I like to recycle my leaves, and maybe businesses it would affect. So the city, I think less is better for that type of thing, for generally, just keep it out of the city cost. And one more thing is the bicycles. As a bike, I always understood bicycles really, we're supposed to ride in the road. I don't know if this is locally, it's different here, but I don't think you need to make a law about that. And I understand your concern about kids. I don't see that, because maybe it's in Whitehall. I don't see kids riding 60 miles an hour, but I understand that you want to prevent. I just hesitate more laws and maybe some education and things. So I just hate the thought of having laws brought in about bikes and electric bikes. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? on to number 9, Jeff.
Okay, the only item I had this evening, just kind of an update. So we are currently working on some ordinance updates. One of those is the vegetation ordinance. If you remember in our ordinance we just talked about, it talks about updates to the vegetation ordinance or being in compliance with that as related to that clear vision area. So we're starting to work through that. There's also been some discussion in the last couple of weeks regarding parking on city streets within the city, especially within the downtown, as that refers to snow plowing. We can currently have a workaround through the adoption of the Michigan Vehicle Code to write tickets. However, there we have 2 different signs within the city. One that actually talks about local ordinance. We cannot find the local ordinance on file. And then there's also another one downtown, 1 hour parking 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. So we have 2 different signs. Because they're signs, we can still do enforcement, but it does make sense that we make sure that we have language that we can do those tickets under our city's code of ordinances versus using the Michigan Vehicle Code. Because then we can do it as a vehicle, or we can do that as a civil infraction versus doing it through that. So just wanted to bring that to your attention. I imagine in January we'll start some of those discussions with the ordinance updates as well. This will go into that same chapter, chapter 62. So maybe we'll just keep picking away at that one and doing updates. But I think that was the only thing I had for updates, because we'll talk about the other item, parking, within the work session.
Any questions for Jeff? Number 10 on the agenda is message and communication from myself and council members. Paul?
The social district issue, I think we've been messing with this for a couple of years now, and we've had delay after delay after delay, and I would like to see us do something. I know that, and people in the audience may not know this, how much work you put into this and how much time you had to chase business owners around, and how things change from a Friday to a Monday that you're not counting on. And I think we need to communicate to the businesses in the social district that come March, we're either going to do it or we're not. And if they plan on being part of this social district, they need to get their stuff together. And I'll just leave it at stuff, because there's a lot of things that they have to have together for you. And I know that it seems like one gets everything done, and then the one business next to it all of a sudden falls apart, and they don't have all their stuff in, and it's been a mess. And if we're going to get it going, let's get it going, and let's put it on them rather than putting it on you. I think we've buried you in unnecessary chasing people around with the whole deal.
Anything else, Paul?
Nope.
Lisa?
I'd just like to wish everybody a Merry Christmas.
Ken?
Same as Bob. Everyone needs a Merry Christmas this year.
I'd like to say one more thing too. Remember your neighbors that are alone. Sometimes a kind word makes a big difference.
Okay, good. Laura?
Yeah, Merry Christmas to everybody. Scott, thank you for the tree. If you didn't notice, we have a beautiful Christmas tree coming into town, so thank you for that. And if those out there enjoyed the cookie crawl that the chamber did this last weekend, please let them know, or the businesses know. I think it was a really fun time and a good success for the community, so thank you.
And again, for the audience and the council, we did go through and look at the board and the committees tonight. And for the leaf pickup, there is a committee out there. If you'd like to submit your notes to the committee, they would be glad to look at that. The snow today was a little bit different than we've had in the last few days, but the city was out there and made the roads safe real fast. And I also would like to wish everybody a Merry Christmas. At this time, we're going to have a motion to adjourn, where there'll be a short 3-minute recess, and then we'll go into a work session. So if we could have a motion to adjourn?
Move for adjournment?
And Ken, you support it?
Or
Bob
Bob.
did.
Get the minutes.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? There'll be a short 3-minute intermission. Will be just discussion. Jeff?
Okay, just want to start talking through some concepts for you. I know there's been lots of discussion about parking, especially within the downtown. So because of that, then we've been looking at the streets a little bit differently. So not only south of the Dowling Street intersection, but also north. So some of it could be fairly easy to do because we do have the width to do some changes. The first one, this is, let me get my laser again. So this is south of Dowling. So right here, this is Fig's Boutique, right on the corner. There's the empty green lots, Ferguson's here, Harbor Point Apartments. So as it currently exists, 2 ways, both directions, angle parking on one side, parallel parking on the other. It is possible to actually just change the striping on the street to make it all angle and also do one way. This solves a couple things. Not only does it add parking space, but I'm sure if any of you have been driving on Ferry Street, pulled up to that intersection and tried to creep out to make that corner, basically takes that out of play. So it makes that whole street one way. It still allows access to all the parking lots, as well as Harbor Point and parking lot down here. This is just doing some rough estimates. So this is along the one side, not all parking spots, but there's 11 parking spaces and 1 handicap. By just changing it to one-way and angle parking, we now have 24 spaces. Definitely 1, maybe even 2 handicap spots along that area. So you instantly add 13 parking spaces and another handicap along that zone.
Jeff, if you go that, what happens to the farmer's market?
That's a great question.
Please, next slide.
So here's that coming down. So one-way turning into two-way. Two-way here because there still has to be access to this parking lot here as well as parking lot for Ferguson's. Basically turns this intersection into a 2-way stop. Actually, it'd probably be a 3-way stop coming out of the parking lot. So during normal operation, this stays as is. Stop sign, pull into this area. One-way coming down the intersection, stop sign to make the corner. Not proposing any changes or two-way or changing this to one-way at this point. There are some kind of in a temporary basis, you can still allow the street closure to happen for farmers market. You still have access one way. It does route some traffic through the parking lot just during that farmers market period, and then this opens back up to two-way. So would allow kind of multiple things, adds parking to the area, still allows street closure. I know a lot of people really enjoy having that street closed. To take part in that. If you want to dream even bigger, you could actually take the two pavilions. All I did was cut and keep at scale. You move the two pavilions over here. You could provide some covered parking, not angled, but you would provide covered parking here. You change that entire section into parking spots. And now you have an additional 22 spots on Cook or on Church Street. And by doing this, you only lose 9 spots in this area. So you have quite a gain again in parking for that area. The other nice thing is then if you do close off this section, it doesn't affect any of the street motion. Obviously, this is a little bit, would take some more work in looking at this with engineers to see if those structures or how much of those structures could be salvaged and moved over, but again, that's certainly a possibility.
So in the summer, there's a number of pop-up vendors that come. How would they
Yep.
fit in?
So they could still be in the street here. So, you know, there might be end camp here, street vendors along this area. So it still functions because you close off a section
So
of the street.
if we move those two things into the parking lot, then that, they could still be, like, block off that half of the road and have the pop-up vendors be in there?
No, so then, let's say that these get moved here, this part of the parking lot just gets blocked off. So pop-up vendors could go along here as an end cap, depending on space, could go here. You know, they could kind of shuffle in different areas.
Okay.
Those pavilions that you have in that, are those vendors, I'm going to call them vendors, on both sides, and a walkway down the middle?
With them moved, you mean?
You mean with, yeah, if they move, right, is that what you're saying? Or currently?
No, if you went to that way.
If they move, it would be similar to what they do here. So they would essentially pull through. So part of their vehicle kind of extends beyond the pavilion. So part of it's underneath and then part of it's under that for pedestrians to walk.
Is there a way to maybe think about vendors going in both sides and a walkway in between them?
Yep, yep. Similar to, I think Grand Haven has that.
Muskegon's kind of like that.
The pavilion actually serves as the pedestrian and Muskegon, and the vendors back up to that. Yep.
Yeah.
So largely, you know, this kind of all starts of this kind of discussion of parking, utilizing what we have. The nice thing about looking at streets and just thinking about them a little bit differently is you can add parking to areas without adding a parking lot. And if you think about other sections of the downtown and how to kind of create in the future, again, you're not adding parking lots, you're just moving structures around using the existing area. So it's kind of how best to use that space and also increase parking.
You could almost do it in sections. You could do the first section with the one-way street and the angled parking, and then maybe a second step is moving the pavilions over.
Right? Yeah, this could be like the, so that kind of happens. This is kind of the interim to get flow for and still allow farmers market to function, with the ultimate plan of doing something like that. Yep.
So in that scenario right there, the parking to the left of those structures, that would still be parking next to Ferguson's?
Yes.
Yeah.
Nothing here changes.
And then they would just enter in?
Yep.
If we move those structures like that, we still could keep Ferry Street one way, correct?
Yes.
Because I would anticipate when the building is done on the corner there on the former Nesbitt property that it's going to require an additional parking.
Yep.
Well, and in the interest of flow, I mean, we might just do the whole thing one way, right, through there too.
My only fear would be that this one kind of parking lot becomes isolated because it's a full block down from the other intersection. And because of this residents, some of them being seniors, so kind of trying to keep some ADA compliant so they could easily get in and out of there. But again, adds quite a bit more parking along that Church Street corridor. The other section, so this is North Ferry Street, so Spring Street, Ferry heading north, City Hall, Library, Tri-County. So current 16 spaces along this entire strip. You can tell even by this photo, some of the parking spaces are actually pretty small. So even just doing some updates to the parking spots, there is enough space to, if you restripe the one side, you can still leave access both areas behind this building here. Put angle parking, you again find another handicap spot, and you now have 31 spaces, so essentially you add 15 additional spaces for parking along Ferry Street. So again, I want to kind of start throwing out these ideas because there is lots of discussion about parking is that it's possible, even without adding parking structures or parking lots, some simple changes can add parking to our downtown. In this scenario, it doesn't even change it to one-way, it still keeps it as two-way. The way to think of this right now is this functions like Ferry Street South. So this functions like it does in front of Figs currently. You have one section at angle and one section at parallel. So there's room to maintain two-way and still add parking spaces. So this also does include making sure that there's spaces. There's a small driveway for this building here, small driveway for here, handicap here, handicap here, and then you can also add a handicap along this other side. So again, kind of just some minor changes to kind of think about. Scott and I did talk, depending on which section moving forward with, is it makes sense to either do this as a project is going or as, like for this street, it's not in terrible shape, but if we did a chip and seal all the way from Spring all the way up to Hunt, not only obscures the old lines and it gives you an opportunity to repaint those, but also protects that street. Ferry Street South probably needs a bit more than a chip and seal. There's been lots of saw cuts across there for water, sewer, all kinds of utilities. So that would probably be a more extensive one. But so start thinking about that. I wanted to kind of bring this as a work session item to kind of get your ideas, thoughts, as we kind of move forward with different items that come before the council. I guess initial input, like the ideas.
How much does it narrow the vehicle right away in doing it that way with diagonal lines?
For which section?
Well, for the cars, for the actual road
This
where the vehicles travel.
This section right here, it actually makes the travel lane a standard 12 foot, which it should be. Right now, it's 11 foot on the, right, 11, isn't that what we figured out? 11 on the City Hall side and 16 on the other side.
Oh, so we gained.
Right.
We gained.
So it actually shifts the center line over. You can see actually just barely that little dot right there. That's the old center line. It shift. All it does is shift that center line and basically breaks up
the end
the.
overlaid it.
Yeah.
Jeff, would you like to go back to the beginning slide and just bring them up one at a time, see if there's any quick comments? Probably not to the beginning of the next one.
This, I guess, is travel corridor. This actually
Okay.
increases the travel corridor. You have more space. As
I like that, that makes sense.
I like that.
Yeah, I do too.
Okay.
Why
Any
did
other?
we go away from, we used to be one way between Dowling and Spring. Why did we go away from that, do you know? It was before your time, of
Yeah.
course, but. you remember
Yeah, because
why-
it used to be completely one way all the way through there.
We used to be one way there, and
Yeah.
Mhm.
I don't know why it went away.
it just seemed like it was less of a problem when that was
Was it
one way.
one way both sides of?
It was one way between Dowling and, it was still two-way
On the other
south,
side. Okay.
but between Dowling and Spring, it was one way, traveling north.
So is there any other comments about this drawing he has up there right now, or
No, I
questions?
like it.
Yeah.
Okay. Can we go to the next one then, Jeff? Any comments or concerns or thoughts about this one?
I like where you move the pavilions. I like the farmer's market have its own little
I do too.
secure
I don't
space
know
without
about
cars
running
going
traffic through a parking lot.
by. Yeah, I don't think going through running through the parking lot's a good idea either.
Moving the pavilion solves that.
So I think you want to go to the next one then too, Jeff.
Yeah.
So I think everybody's leaning that this would be a better way than, if I'm hearing you correctly, than
Mhm.
putting traffic through that parking lot.
That's a good idea. I like that one a lot.
And then we go back to in front of the city hall.
Mhm.
Yeah, that one's good too.
Yeah, I like that too. It gives larger lanes and everything, so it's a win-win.
Any other discussion or questions or comments on this one?
And we're going to address this with the DDA and with all the businesses on the streets
Yep.
over the next.
Yep, I want to just kind of start getting the idea out there, and it's basically buck stops here, if that counts as like, no, we're not doing it. We're not even going to consider one way.
Once we
or-
talk here, the rumors are going to get out that it's being done next week, so.
So don't bring out the paint truck next week?
No, don't park it on the corner.
Our phones will be ringing.
Okay.
I like it, I think it's good. People always like to try to parallel park along the busy streets anyway, so I think that's nice.
Yeah.
I don't know how the businesses could complain about having more parking space for their customers.
They'll find a way.
Oh, come on.
Stop, no.
Is that what you needed, Jack?
Yep.
Okay.
All right.
Number 3 on the work session is public comment. Again, this is open public comment. Anybody? If not, we could entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Support?
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Meeting is adjourned. Have a good holiday season.